Hello, everyone. This is Natalie Alicia Gold here with the Gold Standard. And of course, we have the best professionals out there, truly the gold standard in their industries. Today, we are lucky enough to have my dear friend Shahrina Ankhi-krol here. And she is a top business expert and attorney dealing with business branding, trademarks, copyrights, intellectual property, and an entrepreneur herself with her newest and greatest app called Meetpreneur. So I can't wait for her to dive in to tell us all about all these different amazing things that us as business owners or potential business owners need to know about in order to protect ourselves and our brand. Hi, Shahrina.
Hi, Natalie. Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to see you.
So great to see you. Gorgeous as always. And I love the art in the background of your kids' art
Of
highlighted.
course.
It's great. It's amazing. So, Shahrina, how you doing with all of this quarantine stuff going on?
Plugging along. Today is actually the 2-month anniversary of me being quarantined here in New Jersey. So as you know, my office is in New York City, right in Midtown, where all of this stuff is happening, the epicenter of COVID-19. So I haven't been to my office for 2 months. I'm just trying to stay sane, stay positive, and just, reinvent the way I do things.
Well, look, you've always been a shooting star, so I'm sure that a little quarantine is not getting you down.
You're too sweet. So have you. You're always a shining star, no matter where you are. East Coast,
Breaks
now
one to
West
no one, my
Coast.
dear. Breaks one to no one. So thank you so much for that. So Sharina, look, when someone comes to you and you deal with so many entrepreneurs and they have an idea, the idea, as we know, is just the starting point, not the end point. So what do you advise your clients and to do in order to take that idea and make it into something more?
Sure. So most of the time, the people that come to me before they even become my clients, as you know, you have to sign a retainer agreement to become a client to establish that attorney-client relationship. So when they come to me, oftentimes, unfortunately, they come to me a little bit too late. Instead of coming to me just when they have an idea for a business, they come to me further along the road, right? So they're either looking to start their business or they have already started it, but they already talked to everybody they know about their great idea for either a product or service or a brand new venture of whatever it could be. So when they come to me, they have a lot of questions, a lot of misinformation that they have gathered from either friends or family or even Mr. Google, because as we know, everybody loves to Google, including myself, but there is a lot of bad information out there, things that are simply not true. So when they're coming to me, they have a lot of anxiety, a lot of questions, and my job is to sift through that and give them the information that is actually valid so they can take their idea and move it to the next level.
So you're saying that people really shouldn't be asking or telling friends and family necessarily what they're up to until they come to speak to a business attorney.
Yes. So I know it's a very exciting time in your life if you are thinking about a business idea or a business prospect. So you want to tell everybody about it, but the problem with that is if you give away every single detail of your idea, it's no longer contained within your head, right? So it's not protected. As soon as you open your mouth to tell someone about it, you run the risk of them either one, shooting it down and thereby canceling any potential of it going anywhere. And two, they may even take the idea and run with it themselves. And I've seen it happen with family members and also very close friends, and those relationships are forever shattered on top of your business not going anywhere because someone has already stolen that idea from you.
So what kind of protections does someone need in order to ensure that that doesn't happen to them?
Sure. So first of all, speak to an advisor, like an attorney, someone you can trust, someone who is invested in your well-being and your business's well-being. So once you have all this information from a trusted source, you can then move on to the next step. So now, first of all, we as individuals are just individual entities. We are not business entities. So in order for us to protect ourselves from our businesses, we should really be forming a business entity to protect ourselves from business liability. So a lot of times, unfortunately, I see people who are just, doing something out of their basement, which is fine. Some of the largest companies do things, like that all the time, or they have done. And, they just sort of forget that they need to formalize their business. And what they're doing really is they're putting their personal assets on the hook for business liability. So let's say someone wanted to sue you because your product did something bad to them. They can now come after your own personal assets like your house, your car, whatever else savings you may have. Those are all the things that would be on the hook for their taking. So that's definitely a no-no. Then, Natalie, it's a huge concern is the protection of your brand's name and their logo if you have one, if you have a slogan. So name, slogan, and logo, those are the top three things you should be thinking about protecting off the bat.
And when we talk protection, are we talking trademarks?
So I was just going to get into that because sometimes we come up with names or branding ideas that are so great that the second we say it out loud, someone is going to think, wow, that's great. Why didn't I think of that first? And I know I sound really cynical, but these are issues that I see on a daily basis. So it's very fresh and it's what I love to do. So that's why I'm, hopefully going to be helping out someone else that's listening. So yeah, we're talking about trademarks. So what is a trademark? It's a mark that distinguishes your trade from someone else's. So for example, I was just telling Natalie that even in this quarantine, I have my Starbucks, you see, that's the logo. And of course, Starbucks is the name. And if you think about a really famous slogan, it would be just do it, right? That's basically the logo that everybody knows from Nike. So we're talking about three separate things, and they all need protection in order for your brand to have a cohesive identity, and it needs to be protected. Oftentimes, people wait until it's too late, meaning someone else beat them to the punch, and they went ahead and protected it for themselves. And at this point, if you wanted to fight them, you're talking about litigation, and you're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars, which you would have been able to avoid had you talked to someone prior to all of this happening.
Is a trademark, once you establish it, is that your stake in the ground, or is there other things people need to do to further protect themselves?
So a trademark only protects you for the international classes, or as I like to explain it, as categories that you apply for. So until you have your registration from the USPTO, the United States Patent and Trademark Office, you cannot put that R in a circle that everybody is familiar with. You can only put a TM next to your mark for your business until you get that registration. And so let's say, you come up with a name and you wanted to sell apparel, right? Clothing. And if someone else has, I don't know, I guess coffee, and if they wanted to name their cafe with that same name, they could potentially do that without any issues because they're separate categories or separate international classes.
I see. So the TM, do people need to file to even put that TM, or can anyone put TM?
No, you don't need to file to do the TM, to put the TM next to your brand name or logo or slogan. In fact, you should be doing it to show other people that it is a brand name that's being used, or brand identity that's being used as a trademark. And you can only use the R, as I said, after the registration process. It's so funny because sometimes clients get so angry because it's such a lengthy process. They're like, well, what can I just put the R? And the thing is, it's actually not allowed. So if the USPTO sees or notices that you're using the R in the circle before it's actually registered, you could get in trouble potentially. So don't do it.
And how long is the process, Shahrina? You said it's a lengthy process. What should, our viewers be expecting?
Sure. So it can take anywhere, from, I don't know, several months to 18 months. You can see that information on the USPTO's website. I once had a client who came to me complaining in my office that she had done her trademark, but somebody else stole it. And I just didn't understand what she meant. So I went further into the story, and she thought that she registered her trademark at the county clerk's office, which was kind of fishy. So I kept asking her questions. Turns out she just filed for her business However, just filing for your business doesn't give you trademark protection, at least not on the national level, the federal level, which the USPTO handles.
So it's brilliant because we're really giving a roadmap to potential entrepreneurs. So first, it's the amazing idea, which is obviously the start of anything. Then it's getting the business entity established, which means a protective layer. Now, here's the thing. People also still need to remember that they need to get insurance
Oh yeah, of course.
for that, whether it's malpractice for attorneys like us, or whether it's errors and omissions for a different kind of business, because just because you have that LLC or corporate structure that's going to give you, a veil, you don't want someone to come and fight you, because then you're going to personally be paying the legal bills. And I think that's what people don't really understand, that the insurance money is the fuel to fight anyone coming at you, and the entity is the security blanket.
Absolutely. And oftentimes I would say even up to like 80% of my clients, they have no idea that they should be getting insurance on top of
Wow.
just creating their legal entity. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. This is, one of those crucial things that I always advise my clients to just go and speak to an insurance agent, because again, I don't delve into topics that I don't know about. I'm not an insurance agent and I can't tell you what you may need. So you would have to speak to your insurance agent about what you're doing with your business, what you plan on doing with it, where you foresee yourself going, because those are the things, those are the steps that they need to know about in order to insure your business.
Absolutely. And look, a lot of insurance carriers are in the business of denying claims, unfortunately. So you want to make sure you're laced up day one so that no one can say you did this before you had coverage. Because
Right.
if they can find a way out, they will. So you need to get the proper insurance and at the right time.
Absolutely. And you can't have insurance after something happens. You need to have it before, just like auto insurance. Everybody's familiar with car insurance, even if they don't have life insurance or whatever else, catastrophe of some sort. Everyone knows at least the basics about car insurance. You can't get car insurance after you have an accident and expect them to cover the damage. It's the same idea with any other type of insurance, business insurance of any type.
Sure. And with a lot of your clients today, the big issue, and I was speaking about this on Fox recently, was about business interruption insurance. And many insurers are not paying. So has this been an issue you've seen a lot of clients come to you with?
Well, with this catastrophe happening all over the world, not just, obviously not just in New York, like we tend to think, center of the universe is right here in Manhattan. It's happening everywhere. So it's funny you mentioned that, because I have had several clients, contact me right away as soon as the pandemic, started taking shape here. When we were hearing about you can't talk to people or get into big groups, things like that. They were coming to me asking me about how they can, at that point, fix up their contracts to make sure that they're not liable for X, Y, and Z. Because customers were coming back and voicing concerns. Already that was too late for having contracts in place, because you already have relationships with these people, right?
Right.
So again, you have to think about contracts as well with your clients or customers. In particular, I want to talk to you about a client of mine who works with pregnant women. So all of a sudden, women in New York City who were giving birth during this quarantine period were not allowed to bring in any support person. And these personnel were supposed to be in the room, in the delivery room with them. So
Sure.
now that they just physically could not be in there because it's no longer allowed, how can they protect themselves, right? So don't wait until after something happens to then try to retroactively protect yourself, because more than likely it's not going to happen. So have your contracts in place from the beginning as well. Tell your attorney about what kind of business you're getting into. Really have your attorney understand what you're going to be doing, because like myself, I don't know about every type of business that's out there. It could even be a business that doesn't exist yet. So you have to really be able to explain in a level that everybody can understand, so you can have the contracts in place that you need to protect yourself.
No doubt. And from a personal side, right, you deal a lot with the business. And I'm dealing with, okay, once a successful business is there, how do you protect your personal It's the same kind of idea. You don't go to the attorney and you don't say, we need to do all this planning when it's too late, because it minimizes what I can do for you. But I think attorney, healthcare proxy, and trust are so important for the personal and business, because God forbid you have a business partner who becomes disabled. What do you do? So these are all things I encourage entrepreneurs to really consider before they get into these situations, and legally draft around.
Right. And especially with what you do, Natalie, wills, I mean, if it's after the fact, you're already dead.
It's
So, I
too
mean, you
late.
can't really do much about your opinions or your wants after that fact. So you really need to be proactive, throughout your life for yourself, for, what Natalie does, and also for your business. You can't just ignore one and hope the other one doesn't catch up to you. They're all intertwined. They're all in your life. You need to plan, Natalie, as you said, planning is not retroactive. It's looking forward, not backwards.
And Shahrina, talk to me about the difference in fees between pre-planning for their business, so coming to an attorney like you, and general fees across the nation of what they cost to establish your business entity, establish a trademark, and speak to a professional in this world, as opposed to what it would cost as a basic minimum on the litigation side.
Sure. So, I try to work with my clients on a flat fee basis to the extent possible, of course. And I obviously can't give you specific numbers because each person has different needs, but there are flat fees that I have established over the years to do, like business formation or a trademark application. I don't like to charge hourly for those things because it creates annoyance for myself, and also it's uncertain for my clients, and they want to know, as a small business owner or as an entrepreneur, exactly what's coming out of their pocket, right? So then it's more manageable. You can wrap your head around the idea that, okay, it's 5,000 to do X, Y, and Z, and once I get it done, that's it. I'm not spending more money on it. However, with litigation, as any ethical good attorney will tell you, we cannot just estimate how much something would cost if it goes into litigation, because it's no longer in our hands. So we're charging by the hour at that point. So it could just accumulate and multiply and just, get out of hand, as a lot of people would consider it to get. But it's really not in our hands at that point, because we're dealing with, the court system. We're dealing with opposing counsel. We're dealing with this and that. So at that point, it becomes an astronomical task, and a lot of people have to start taking out loans even to deal with litigation, and that's not fun for anyone. It's not fun for the client, of course, and it's also not fun for attorneys, because they don't want to have to do work and then realize they may not get paid for their hard work. And our time and our expertise is our product. We don't have a gadget to hand over to our clients, right? So
Well,
it's what we
I think
draft.
I
Yeah,
think it's we're talking a few $1,000s on the front end to
right.
save potentially six figures or more on the back end.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a very worthwhile pursuit for people to do, to have the right advice from the outset. It saves so much money. And here's another thing, Shahrina, which I think is interesting to your point about taking loans to hire for litigation. What are you then really protecting? Because if your assets have been protected prior to this business venture, ain't nobody gonna get the money on your personal side if it's properly done without there being an issue. Once there's an issue, it's
Right.
called fraudulent conveyance. So I encourage people to really think about doing the pre-planning, making sure you're laced up so that should issues come, you can just say, look, you want to continue with this? Where is it going to go for you? Because you're never going to get anything from me. And that can force settlement, which in my opinion, the law has to move towards the settlement and negotiation and mediation realm as opposed to litigation, because the courts are closed right now.
Right.
Litigation is a dying business, in my opinion, or it should be, because a lot of things that get litigated are quite honestly pieces of crap that shouldn't be in the court system, that are bogging it down, and that are just there really to force settlement anyway.
Well, as you know, Natalie, very well, that only a fraction of cases ever actually even end up in litigation. But from the point of view, starting a dispute with someone because you didn't have a contract in place or you didn't set up your business entity properly, from that point of the dispute, or the point of I guess the point where you realize something is wrong, to the point of resolution of any sort, whether it be in court or out of court, via settlement discussion or agreement, that's gonna cost you too. I mean, don't just think there's not any money involved between, having figured out that there's a problem to figuring out a solution even before you go to court. So it all boils down to how clear are you on, how clear are you in your own business understanding, and how are you conveying that to others. So if you're getting into a business with someone, or if you have clients, if you have a clear cut contract in place, both parties know what's going to happen. And if there is a dispute, you can resolve it by doing X, Y, and Z. So there is no gray area for this litigation or pre-litigation talk to take place. So you save a lot of money that way.
And tell us about your new platform, Meetpreneur.
Sure. So it is a location-based business networking app, and it's available on iOS and Android. And as we are in this pandemic, I'm actually trying to reinvent it. It's already out there for you to download. We have a good amount of people that have it in New York City area. And that was, my focus point before we expanded. But I'm taking this time, just like any other entrepreneur, to like really rethink what is possible with the app. And I'm planning on relaunching it in a few months. So stay tuned on that. And if you want, just download it now, take a look at what's there. But a much better version is coming, and I'm really excited about that. So just stay tuned and stay in touch with me so I can keep plugging that wherever I go.
Well, I wish you all the success with that. I know it's not easy, and what a huge endeavor it was for you to take this on and fund it and build it out. So my hats off to you, my dear. Kudos to you. And at this point, I just want to say thank you so much for being here with us. And I would like to go on to question and answers and commentary from the people here, but I'm going to ask that the recording be now stopped so that we can edit this.